So we done that video on that Libretiny whole thing where you can put your open source firmware over the air on all of your devices that have those new Beken chipsets that you couldn't use Tuya-Convert on because, yeah, taking your out of the cloud is just damn cool, and you should probably do it instead of relying on someone else's internet and cloud to control the stuff in your home that you paid for. Well, we got to do the guide again because the cool developers just made it 10 times easier. Now, there's going to be a lot of information, so buckle up, but hey, we're going to put all the chapter marks down below. That way you can skip around to all the crap you want. And you've done this before, but well, what is just easier? Yeah, skip on past the stuff with how to build the Raspberry Pi or put CloudCutter on whatever it may be to run the exploit. So how this kind of works? I know maybe it didn't touch on that much in the whole why of things. Imagine that you're taking your smart plug, and yeah, you gotta to be able to use it, put it in a Home Assistant and everything, or whatever it may be. You would have to put it into the Tuya Cloud, which goes onto the internet on their servers. So anytime you wanted to control it, you would actually have to send a command out to their server, and then it would come back to the plug to turn on. That's just stupid. You want it to stay inside your network, and you want to be able to do a bunch of other cool stuff and add features to, I mean, you paid for this, right? So why not do that? So that's where this CloudCutter stuff comes into play. Now, how does this kind of work? Well, basically, now I'm using a Raspberry Pi. They are getting a little bit easier to obtain, and the prices are coming down on those. Luckily, there are other options, and say like you could run laptops or VMs with certain wireless cards that can do an access point. That way you don't have to go hunt down a damn Raspberry Pi. So, but how this works is, imagine that I'm taking this smart plug, instead of pairing it up with Tuya's cloud, we make our own little fake cloud that this Raspberry Pi puts out an access point. You pair this up with it, and then it runs an exploit and opens this up and allows us to put our open source firmware on the plug. How cool is that? The cool developers have really made it really simple to go through all the scripts, and it does this in an automated fashion. And then I'll show you how to even put your ESPHome firmware on it and pull the config from the little website or even the plug itself, and that way you don't have to go figure out all the pins and everything. You bring it into Home Assistant, and it will have ESPHome and be folded right in and be open source and be yours. Now, if you've already built your Raspberry Pi 4 for Tuya-CloudCutter, you can just update to the latest version, and then you don't even really need the Libretiny or Libretiny ESPHome stuff on the Pi 4 anymore if you built that in the previous video I did several months ago. And because now you can use the HOS add-on, or you can use the Docker container already pre-built on your existing Home Assistant Docker stack, HOS, or whatever you may be running Home Assistant on. And if you really want to, you could put Docker Compose on the Pi 4. You can do whatever you want, but the cool part is the Docker container and add-ons are built already for you. And we're going to get to that, of course. You can find that chapter down below, and you can skip past building that Raspberry Pi 4. But do make sure you update to the latest Tuya-CloudCutter on your Raspberry Pi 4, because we're going to be using some of those new features built into it. So my previous guide, not a whole lot is going to change for building the Pi. I will say I recommend, because of some of the changes, still download this older version of the Raspbian. And of course, if you don't want to use a Pi, if you want to use a Pi 02 or whatever it may be, or if you want to just do a VM or with Debian or whatever on your computer, make sure it does have a supported card that supports the access point mode, because that's how this kind of works. It makes an access point and it fools the device and it gets on that access point. Of course, you can come over here, follow all the instructions on the Tuya-CloudCutter GitHub itself. I'll leave all the links down below and you can jump in. So we're going to go download this. And I will do the updated guide on my website again, just because I did screw up on one section on the previous video, and this got 10 times easier. We don't do the Docker stuff really anymore. So I'll go ahead and put the little micro SD card in. I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4. This should be fine on a 3 as well. So we picked our 220404, and we'll go ahead and hit the little gear. Don't forget to do this. This is enable SSH, use password. And you can come down here, set your password. It remembers it from the last time I did all this. And we're not going to be using the WLAN stuff. And go ahead and set your local settings, etc. So you hit save, choose storage. I'm using my 32 gig card, and hit right and go through and accept. Of course, if you want to take a moment, subscribe, like, shoot a comment, dislike, or just come jump into Discord and hang out with a bunch of cool people, you can do that too. You'll find the Discord link down in the video description. So once it's done, hit continue. We're going to eject it and take it out and go put it in the Raspberry Pi 4, connect it to Ethernet, attach it to your network, give it a few minutes, let it boot up, and go check for that IP address, and we're going to SSH into it using PuTTY or whatever tool you want to use. So if you do get the security breach, just because we rewrote it, it's saying the device changed and maybe something's trying to hack us, but I know I did that. I'm going to hit accept. Log in as the ID that you set and the password. Now it's going to give you this message about Wi-Fi is blocked. And of course, we're just following along in the guide here. Is right here. It says if it shows blocked, we need to run. You can copy and paste this because I hate typing. You can do sudo rasb config. We'll paste that. Localization, WLAN, and pick your country. You can hit the U. You'll hit tab, finish, hit enter. Would you like to reboot now? Say yes. Go ahead and wait again. Takes a little bit to reboot. Pis aren't the fastest things, but hey, they work great for this. All right, we're going to do a restart session, and we got the Wi-Fi message is gone. So now we can continue on with the next step. So we'll go here, install Network Manager. So we'll do this whole section here, paste this in, hit enter. Again, this is going to take a little bit. Pi ain't the fastest thing on the updates. So once it's done, you hit yes, so you can install the stuff. And we're going to go and add this line to this config file. We'll just paste that in. We'll leave that down there below. And we'll go all the way down, page down, all the way. And we are going to copy and paste that. Deny interfaces, space WLAN 0. Control O, enter, and exit. If you really want to check the file, you could just, open it back again and it should be there. You're good to go. Then we'll do the same for this file. And this is where I screwed up last time, but apparently didn't impact it much. And we need the file to look like this. So main plugins if down key file, and then we need to add DHCP internal. Main plugins if up down comma key file DHCP internal if up down manage equal true. Now we can reboot the Pi with sudo reboot and let it eat. It's going to kick us out again. We'll wait again and we will restart the session again. And now we need to install the Docker service and wait again. We have Docker installed. Go down, we need to do install git. All right, already installed. And now we need to git clone the Tuya-CloudCutter. Now, the guide says this is going to change because this is where things got so much easier. We're not going to deal with ESPHome until after we cut our devices and put their third-party firmware on them. Yeah, it gets stupid easy. So I'm going to go to cd Tuya-CloudCutter, and we're going to paste in the Tuya-CloudCutter sh-r. That is for the Raspberry Pi. That -r may be required, but go look at some of the other instructions on the Tuya-CloudCutter GitHub because again, this is going to be for the Pi 4 if you're doing something different, like your own little VM deal. The first time it runs, it has to build this container, but after that, it doesn't take forever to do. It's just this first time. So yeah, sorry, you have to wait once again. Now, this is the first time you've run this. You may be wondering, well, what other devices can I run this on? Tons of them, and there's even many that we haven't even tried yet. It's going to be all of your Beken devices that have the Tuya back end, and there has to be some of the different versions, not the very new versions, but we'll go over and how to find some of that stuff. If you want to look through some of the profiles, you can find this on the Tuya-CloudCutter devices list. It has all the damn devices, all the layouts, everything you need, and I'll show you even how to auto build your own ESPHome YAML without having to code all that yourself, which is the cool part of all this. So we're going to try the power strip above my head here. We're going to see if we can do it without having to grab any profiles and whatever. I want to see if that works. I've done it on a light before, and it is pretty cool. Flash third-party firmware. Don't do the cut thing and run Tuya local thing. Maybe you can find another YouTube channel that'll help with that. But we're doing our own firmware because it's cool and stuff. Option 2. Okay, let's try it twice. Now there's 2 options here which can be confusing. Of course, number 3 is brand new. You don't have an existing profile. You haven't done anything before. Number 1 is by manufacturer device name. Now you can click it, go look through and maybe find the one that is, say Power Strip A, with ABC brand, and you can try that one and see how it works. And that way you don't have to pair it up with the Tuya Cloud or anything like that. If it's something brand new, you just can't find it in the list, you need to go pair that up with the Tuya Cloud. And then if you go in there and hit device update, and it should show you the firmware version, and you can go try the firmware version. It doesn't matter what it is. Say your firmware version is 1.07. Well, go find something in there that's 1.07. There might be 4 or 5 devices. Try the first one. If it doesn't exploit, oh well. Pick the second one, pick the third, pick the fourth, until hopefully you have one that did the exploit, and then we can pull the information from it. So I already know this one. This is that Xenon. I believe they have a profile for it already. We're going to try that one out. There's that Xenon, and it's the P301 power strip. We'll hit enter. See, this is 1.18. If I would have pulled up the Tuya app once I paired it with the cloud, then probably the version would be 1.18. If they do change the versions and the profile doesn't work, then you'll just have to go find another device. Hopefully that one will work. And then there's even an advanced feature, but maybe we'll get that in the future video of how to actually pull the firmware so they can build a profile off of that for other users so you can help the people out. Now the next part, this is the new feature that we're using of it, which is awesome. Got to put ESPHome Kickstart on it. Now if you want to do Open Beken, that's a different firmware. I'm not really learning that one right now. I'm just kind of sticking to the ESPHome Kickstart because we're going to use it with the ESPHome, like all the ESP devices, etc., straight with Home Assistant. So we'll put the Kickstart on it. And it's going to tell you about putting this in slow blink mode. And you can see the blue light there. I'm going to hold down this button. Now, if it's a light bulb, you will need to do like that 5 cycle thing. And it's going to go into like fast blink mode. And you'll see what I'm saying when I see this. Every device is going to be a little different. If you don't know, look in the little manual that comes with the device. But mainly, if it has a button, you can probably hold it down. See, you don't want fast blink. You want to hold it down again. And you'll get the slow blink. Give it a second, it should start back up. And you'll notice it picked up and said, hey, I found that access point. It's going to run the exploit on it. Just be patient here. That's the key. And also make sure your devices are not clear across the house. You do want them nearby one another. Now, it ran the exploit, and let's go ahead and power cycle it. So unplug it or whatever you need to do. And then I'm going to turn it back on. Now it may right here fail, and that's just a bug kind of really with, using the Raspberry Pi. Don't freak out. It's going to eventually find it. So I actually had it off. So how would it find the access point if there's no power, right? Give it a second. Now it's going to tell you to put it back in slow blink mode. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're doing the 5-second hold on the button. And of course, if you got the light bulb, you're going to be blinking it off and on like crazy. Maybe use a smart switch or something like that, or smart plug. That way you can turn that thing off and on real fast. It's in fast blink. You don't want fast blink. And hopefully you'll see it says A dash da 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 da. It's going to be different for yours, but you know when it says A minus, boom, it's got it. It ran the exploit. It cut it out from the cloud. And now it's going to put, just be patient. It takes time. And it will put the ESPHome Kickstarter on it. And it's going to put, then we'll put our own firmware on it. So then once you start to see all this stuff go by, that's the really exciting part. You know it's working. Don't touch anything, because then right after it's finished, you will need to pull up an access point mode. Basically use your phone, or you can use your web browser on actually your laptop or whatever. Your phone's probably going to be the easiest thing, and then attach that access point. So what you're going to be looking for is, you can see it right here in the bottom of my screen. That's Kickstart BK7231. It might be a T depending on your chip type. Mine's an N. Don't worry about the change there. You need to attach to that access point. And the browser is going to pull up. You will need to connect to your Wi-Fi. Now, if you're really one of the advanced users and you already know, you can see maybe go in the future, if you're doing a bunch of these, if you can build your firmware beforehand, and you could push it right over right here if you wanted to. That's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and attach it to my Wi-Fi. Now, while that's attaching, let's go get the LTChipTool. That's going to build the YAML for us out of ESPHome without having to do all that stuff. Of course, I'll leave the link again for this. LTChipTool. Go over here, go to releases. It's like 4.2.3. You're going to download it. Now, if MDNS and everything is working on your network, you can just ping this host name. Now, yours may be T versus N if you want to find that IP address. Otherwise, you can go use something like Fing, or look on your router, Wi-Fi access points, or whatever. Look for a recent device with this host name and browse over to that IP address. This will be ESPHome. Now, of course, nothing is really built for you. This is Kickstarter. Now, the cool part about Kickstarter, if you really wanted to go through, you could go through and pick every pin, go pick input, output. You could go figure things out kind of the hard way. Now, we downloaded that LTChipTool, and it has a function that it will go grab the config on a lot of devices. Pulls up. If you go over here, go to UP2K ESPHome, and if you say grab from ESPHome Kickstart, yeah, you can already see where we're going with this. Then we'll put in the IP address of the device, or you could put that host name if you want, and let's hit OK. And you'll see it's already pulling all the data from there. And how badass is this? It found the config. Relay 1 is P8, P6, P24, P20, and those are all just the internal pins on the actual chip. And that way you don't have to go figure out what all the relays are and everything. And look, it even found the button, and the LED is there. It's inverted. It's false. The awesome config is there. It's that cool. Then look at all the options here. You can leave all that defaulted because we can just copy and paste that into ESPHome. But that leads us to that next part. We need to go put ESPHome, the current build of Libretiny, is not folded into, it's not merged. Yeah, it's still not merged into ESPHome itself. So you do need to go run a separate add-on or separate Docker containers. But luckily, you don't have to build that yourself. Now, depending on what system you run, whether you're HAOS, you do your own add-ons, things in the repository, kind of the point and click. We're going to walk through that. It's going to install as a second copy of ESPHome, of course, because it's not merged into the main base of ESPHome just yet. Of course, since I'm doing this video now, they're probably going to merge it the day after I release it and just invalidate the video and have to make a third version for you guys. But we'll always keep the guide updated on my website, so just go over to digiblur.com for any updates on that. The other method are if you want to do Docker Compose, you know who you are, you do your own thing, no supervisor, you can run the Docker container yourself, you can do Docker run, and even the Docker people over on the Unraid side. If you want to run it there, I've made a little template for you. If you just look for ESPHome Libretiny, there it is. This will install. Now do pay attention that you have the GUI set for 6053 because again, we're going to have two copies going on. I know they give this little error here, so it automatically fixes it back to 6052. If you have another copy of ESPHome going, you will need to edit your template to say 6053. And to do that, just hit install on it. If you go down, see it says basic view, and there should be the GUI port. Yeah, right here. If you see the web UI, change that to 6053. And that's going to match up with the web UI down here. That way when you click it, it will pull up the GUI correctly. If you want to leave everything else, just hit apply. And the web UI should point to 6053. And you can see down here it says 2023 7-dev. And that's how you know you're on the right one. Now, if you're doing your own little thing with Docker Compose, Docker Run, you can just use the Docker Compose stuff here off of the Libretiny docs. You can install your deal here, run your own container, and do your thing there. Do keep in mind, if you have two containers, don't have this one stepping on your other one, which is on 6052. Just change the port. Now, you can run everything in one ESPHome container because if you look right here, it says, yeah, that just extends the additional boards. It does keep all the functionality of ESPHome, but I can understand people want to run the stable of ESPHome and not want to run this dev version. Basically, I know that may freak some people out. So I myself run two for now until they merge that thing. Hopefully they'll merge it soon. I mean, it's been a while. Come on. So for the add-on, folks, if you go over here, and bear with me because I'm not very familiar. I haven't done this in a while. Add-ons. So we'll go to the add-on store and we'll need to add our own repository. And that's going to be off of here. It says to add this link here. And we'll paste that in, hit add. We'll hit close. And then you got to refresh this page. And we should have the Libretiny ESPHome here. And we'll hit install, and there's no ports or anything to concern yourself here. It handles all that for you. You can hit on here, show in sidebar, and it will put that different copy for you. And just hit start, and we'll say open web UI. And now we're installed on whatever system you need to run this on. Now we can go build our YAML for this actual device that we already have built. For the YAML stuff, it's going to be a lot of stuff's pre-built for you. Now, in the previous step, I did the LTChipTool, built it and pulled it from Kickstarter. Now, there's a cool little website right here, and I'll leave the link down for you there in the guide as well. It has all the device profiles that Tuya-CloudCutter has, and it builds a profile all for you in ESPHome YAML. It's pretty badass. So, watch this. I can have that Xenon thing and go down here. I say I have that power strip. Look, it builds everything for us right here. There's all the YAML right there with all the GPIO pins. How awesome is that? You didn't have to go figure out how to tab stuff and indent stuff. Just copy and paste the damn thing. Change a few things like the name, and that's it. We'll do new device. Make sure you're in the Libretiny one. So it should say like that -dev. New device, I'm going to say continue, and I'm going to call this and then we'll hit next. And this really doesn't matter too much, but we'll say Libretiny. And I think I had the T board. No, I had the N board. But it's going to overwrite anyway. We'll hit next. I'm not going to use the encryption key stuff, so I'm going to say skip. And then you'll come over here and hit edit. And the first thing you want to do is I like to nuke everything all right here. because we're going to build that all from everything else. Now, I want to keep my name that I have. So I'm going to nuke everything except for the top. And then I can grab my config out of the LTChipTool, or you can do it from the little UPK website. Now, this is a lot of steps. If you get stuck on this, you can always come find the link down to the Discord, digiblur.com Discord, and we can help walk you through some of this stuff. It may be a little much for the first one, but once you do your first one, it's all downhill from there. So I'm going to generate this. There's my YAML. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this in. And I'll have the two sections here because I don't want this name. I don't want to call it CB3S. And I'm going to leave everything pretty much the same. I'm just taking out some of these spaces. I'm not going to be using the API password. I don't deal with that really. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. OTA password. Now, one thing I do need to pop in is my little custom domain because of what I run on my system. And that's just what I run because I don't run the .local. And then everything else is pretty much going to be the same. I'm going to leave this all untouched. And you can hit save. And then we can hit install. Now, this is the other part that makes it stupid simple. We don't have to go dig out files or nothing. This is all going to be the same no matter how you run ESPHome, the Libretiny fork. Now, of course, once they do fold it in, it's all going to be the same as well, except it's going to be in your regular ESPHome. So we'll hit install, hit manual download, and we'll just say modern. And it may take a little bit depending on your system, and it's going to download the beautiful UF2 file that is your firmware for that specific device. So once it compiles, it's automatically going to download that UF2 file. But if you want to, you can hit download again if it didn't download for your browser. Hit close. If we go to the web interface, back to the Kickstart, and you go down to the bottom, it says OTA update, choose file, and we have our Xenon power strip. We're going to hit update. And you'll see down here, if we scroll down, you'll see the progress is going. And you're about to have your very own custom ESPHome on your Beken device. How cool is that? Now, once this is all done, you'll be able to update it and do all the wireless updates and everything just like you know to do in ESPHome. No more of this stuff and everything because it has your firmware on it and it's ready to go. You can see the device is actually online. You can see the status LED is blinking. I should automatically see it in Home Assistant as well. Now I see it's got the Kickstart BK7231. We're going to try this and see if it pulls the correct name now. So we'll hit configure and we'll hit submit. And there it is, Xenon Power Strip. Now, if your device doesn't automatically auto-discover, you can just go hit add ESPHome and put that IP address in there and it will pull the same way. It's just any like ESPHome device, it adds straight into Home Assistant using the API. So we should be able to go over here, go to Xenon Power Strip. Now, if you jump into it quickly, you may say, whoa, wait a minute, there's no controls. Give it a second. I find I have to refresh the page or just talk a lot on YouTube like me, and then the controls populate automatically. And you should be able to see we got the relays. And if you look closely, you can see the red LEDs. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th, you won't hear it click. That's the USB. All the USBs are together on this device. Now, this would all be the same no matter what kind of device you do. Now, if you wanted to do something different, say some sort of button presses with the buttons and everything to control, like say button 1, press the button once and it does this relay or whatever relays. Of course, it's all regular kind of ESPHome code, and you can go configure that in there to do all the automation stuff, whatever you want to do, because it's just ESPHome. Don't let it trip you up because it has a different chip. So that's the gist of it now. Knowing to dig files out and everything, and it's pretty awesome. So If you want to go check out some other stuff, I'll try to put some other devices that I've used the Beken stuff with, but really you can just go do whatever. You don't need a template website or anything. It uses the profiles out of Tuya-CloudCutter, and it's all dynamic based on what CloudCutter pulls down. It's pretty cool, and I'll update the guide and have all this stuff so you can just scroll through, or if you don't want to go hear me talk all the time and just scroll through, it's that simple. So I appreciate everybody watching this guide again. I'm sure it's going to change again, especially whenever they do fold this into ESPHome. That way we won't have to have these little extra add-ons or containers or whatever, but at least we don't have to build them and install them ourselves anymore. Now, how long is this going to last, and how long is it going to happen to be this exploit open? Well, guess what? We're already seeing some devices that you can't exploit them over the air, and you're having to open them up, and you're having to use like a jig or little boards and pins and actually, put software on the chip itself. Now, that can be problematic for some smart bulbs and other things. So I'm not going to say the sky is falling, but if you got some products out there that you probably can't really get to do, some other products that are fully local and open source, you should probably go snag those while you can. And that way you'll get some extras as well in case something does happen. You can have some backups or some spares to go with that. And that's just the nature of the beast with this stuff. It's the whole whack-a-mole game. They don't want us exploiting stuff. They want to keep it in the cloud because they want our data and want to stay in control. And they really hate it that we're buying that device and then keeping it totally local and for ourselves. So, yep, you'll find all the links and all the stuff down below for all the things, for all the deals. And yeah, we do appreciate it. And I do thank all the Patreon members, YouTube members. We definitely couldn't do without you. And yep, y'all keep it real. Press all them buttons down there, and y'all take care.